I don't understand why everyone was freaking out a little while ago when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that he might want to build a prison next door to Disney World. Has everyone already forgotten that Disney has a jail? This prison is tighter than Shawshank, Sing Sing, and Alcatraz combined. It makes the Tower of London look like a 5-star holiday resort. The darkness into which Bane was born was but a tropical sunset compared to Disney's deep, dank, impenetrable prison. This jail is where the House of Mouse has consigned all the stories they believe too problematic to their image. But today, I'm going to jump into my best lawyer suit and give these stories a chance to plead their case and get a little sunlight. Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. Now, while it might seem like I'm over-exaggerating a bit here with my descriptions, these are the undeniable facts that Disney has tried to bury and forget some of their properties that could reflect poorly on their image. This weird image that they're crafting for themselves today. And you may be wondering why I say this weird image is because no one actually knows what Disney's image is supposed to be anymore. For example, Disney wants to represent traditional families, but then berates them for not being more liberal and accepting, while at the same time bravely editing out all their progressive footage from their films so that way they can air in China, Russia, and the Middle East. They want to make money, but they are spending themselves into a hole to the tune of tens of billions of dollars in debt. They want to be entertaining and bring happiness to the people, and yet their failing films and diminishing park attendance relay a very different message. Now, that is a topic for other channels to dig into, because we're all about storytelling here, but it's something to note. And from what we have observed is that Disney is breaking and shunning a core ideal of storytelling, namely, you need your stories need you, and the world needs your stories. By locking their tails away deep within the Disney jail, the House of Mouse is hurting not just themselves, but depriving uncounted numbers of people of the stories that could benefit them. Now, there are various degrees to which Disney has locked away their different IPs and stories. Furthermore, there is a very valuable lesson for all authors to be learned by examining the situation. So, let's begin. First off, it's well known that Disney will never allow the Song of the South to leave its place in solitary confinement. This is because, as the House of Mouse claims, this movie promotes harmful images of American history and tries to whitewash that history of slavery. But the sad fact is that the Song of the South is far more than just that. The film won recognition for black actors. Namely, James Baskett won an Academy Honorary Award for his performance, the first African American to do so, and he immortalized the song Zippity Doo Dah, propelling African American culture and talent onto the big screen like no one had ever seen it before. For more information on that topic, you can go check out WDW Pro's excellent interview with the daughter of Nick Stewart, the African American actor who voiced Brer Bear and was once treated like Disney royalty. The Song of the South also embodied African American folklore, which has largely been suppressed since the early 20th century. Silencing this film has literally silenced a connection not just to America's past and a wealth of stories that are there, but has also tried to cut a connection for millions of the African diaspora to their ancestors. And that's something that current-day Disney is actually doing. They desperately want us to forget this, which is how our stories connect us to past generations and pass along not only quality entertainment, but messages and identity. Shouldn't it be left up to us today to determine where the Song of the South has a place in our lives and culture? Well, with the shutdown of Splash Mountain, Mickey certainly doesn't seem to think so. Now, let's have a look at other movies that have not been consigned to the darkest dungeons of solitary confinement, cut off from the rest of the world, but have been instead thrown into the most distant ward and left to rot in forgotten obscurity. These movies include the likes of The Black Cauldron, Treasure Planet, Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and so many of Disney's live-action movies, the early ones. In a day and an age when Disney has surrendered its animation crown to the likes of Illumination and Skydance, and has taken a horrifying squat and dump all over its own cartoon legacy in favor of live-action remakes, these stories seem like prime candidates for soulless adaptations. I mean, Disney is running out of stuff to cannibalize at this point. But you have not heard anywhere that they want to adapt these films for their own soulless live-action remakes. Well, I can already tell you why Disney wants to forget these movies. The Black Cauldron to them represents a great disaster, and it has dark magic, the horror. It's so far removed from the Disney brand that we just can't allow it to have a second chance. Only that Disney did fund the production of Little Demon, which was about the Antichrist. So, it seems like this is a really weird move for Disney, and it's also a big step backwards for the company to not tap into the storytelling might and longevity of the Chronicles of Prydain. And so thereby they deprive themselves of a good chance to revive a cult classic and to make some good money and to introduce people to a fantastic series from back in the day that has not been touched since. It's prime real estate, folks. And they also won't touch Treasure Planet because Disney executives purposefully killed that movie. But a live-action tale of a young man searching for buried treasure in space? Fans have been asking for this, but Disney just again doesn't want to touch something that they themselves killed and buried in a shallow grave. And for that matter, why not remake Atlantis? It has a diverse cast, great story, and a loyal following. So why not capitalize on that? Put your conspiracy theories about that down in the comments below. And there is no way that they would remake Pocahontas, because the true story is such a charged topic, and furthermore, the way that the original movie dealt with the topics of racism was just far more mature than the silliness Disney's crapping out today. It's better than anything that current Hollywood writers could do themselves, and if they even tried to do anything, they would embarrass themselves by trying to outdo the amazingness of the 90s, and there's no way that Lin-Manuel can actually add anything more to this gorgeous soundtrack. I believe that the Little Mermaid remake has proven that point.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham.
And finally, despite what the rumors say, there's no way that they're ever going to remake The Hunchback of Notre Dame because they can't bring themselves to use the word gypsy or to even use the proper terms Sinti and Roma because they fear getting cancelled on Twitter. Furthermore, the story is deeply religious, which is wonderful for calling out Frollo's hypocrisy, but religion is something that Disney just will not touch. And perhaps the character of Frollo is just a little too on the nose for the Disney Corporation these days? All of these movies are still available, however, unlike the Song of the South, but they are no longer promoted or celebrated as they once were, being allowed instead to slip away into obscurity. The House of Mouse desperately wishes that we will all just one day forget these films ever existed and consume whatever new product they're cranking out for Disney+. And finally, we get to the inmates, who are just passing through. Many of these are the anime that Disney rapidly buys the streaming rights for, and then proceeds to do nothing with. Did you know that Summertime Rendering, one of the most anticipated manga adaptations in recent history, was even available on a Disney streaming platform? Do you even know what the show is? I'll be impressed if you do, because Disney buried it. Or what about Heavenly Delusion, the spiritual successor to the brainbuster anime of the 90s? No, of course Disney didn't advertise that. It's way too dark and uncomfortable for poor innocent Mickey. And finally, they acquired the rights to stream Bleach, and didn't even bother advertising or getting into the lucrative merchandising game for one of the original big three from Shonen. Why? Because all that matters to Disney is that they heard that anime was popular. So, cool kids, we bought up the rights to expensive, highly acclaimed anime and then dumped them all onto Hulu, thinking that their hype alone would draw new subscribers so that way we, Disney, can fold them into our Disney Plus subscriber numbers. This is a lazy business decision that squandered all the good money that was spent on these shows and made some fantastic anime become obscure in a very competitive lineup. Just like how modern prisons are actually a very lucrative business, Disney abuses intellectual properties as if they were inmates, hoping to glut themselves on ill-deserved profits. But unlike the well-oiled, horrifying machine of the modern prison system, Disney's vault of movies and shows are more akin to a tightly sealed, disease-ridden dungeon. And fun fact here, from Lars, I was once locked in a medieval dungeon. True story. Anyway, Disney's jail is very much real and has diligently reduced the effectiveness and profitability of many, many stories. The House of Mouse is notorious for mistreating its creative teams and storytellers. This is why they break every part of this universal truth that you need your stories need you, and the world needs your stories. How can you fulfill this ideal if your stories and you are mistreated? How can the world enjoy your stories if they're locked away in Disney's dismal vaults? The truth is that you can't, and this is where the lessons come in, which applies to so much more than just Disney. If you want to professionally release your stories, consider very carefully who you want to work with. Do all the necessary research into different publishing and production companies. Send out emails, and don't be afraid to ask hard questions either. Carefully read any offers and contracts sent your way. Have a lawyer look over them. Yes, that is essential. Lawyers' advice is what helped me to face the uncomfortable scenario of breaking off a contract with a publishing firm. But I'm glad that I did it, because you want to make sure that you're treated fairly, that your story will be treated respectfully, and that you will have a chance to reach a wide audience with your work. There are many companies that take advantage of young creatives and drain them dry with oppressive oversight, ridiculous deadlines, and odd editorial demands. This is why doing your research ahead of time and cultivating healthy relationships with others within the industry is valuable. Get an agent. They can help you out where you don't know what to do. Having an agent is almost an essential when getting into publishing. If that all sounds daunting, that's, well, because it is. However, the more you work at it, the more confident you'll become, and the easier it will get to work within the professional storytelling industry. Research, perseverance, and establishing good relationships are all key to making sure that your stories have a fighting chance and won't just be shut away as an embarrassing tax write-off. As for Disney's jail, well, I'll be honest, there's nothing that we can do about that because they own those properties. But treasure instead the stories, the movies, and the shows that you can get your hands on. And raise awareness about the House of Mouse's shady tactics. Try to help others avoid all of these nasty problems that Mickey tries to shove on over onto all of us. Eventually, the market, I believe, will have its say, and we'll see if Disney learns and changes or continues to bleed money and prestige. Now, in many videos this month, just kind of giving you a glance ahead, it will seem like I'm kicking Disney when they're down. Well, they kind of deserve it. But also, since they are a crumbling bastion of storytelling, I think there's a lot of valuable insights to be gleaned. If you want to watch those videos when they come out, please make sure that you've subscribed and click the bell icon to be notified. We'll also have other videos diving into analyses, writing advice, and just general good fun. So watch out for them too. And in the meantime, if you're looking to improve your own writing skills, please check out our podcast, Camille's Harem. We have writing exercises as well for you to check out over at our Pinterest page, and you can check out our own books, read them, and rate them. Links for all of that and more are in the description below. Thank you for joining us on this adventure that we call writing, and until the next video, y'all, tschüss.